Hey friends, it's Steven with Leviathan Snakes, and for this week's video, I want to talk about multi-recessive projects. Specifically, I want to try to answer the question, are we moving too fast towards some of these triple, quad, and even penta-recessive animals, and if this desire for the most amount of recessive genes in one animal, if that's a fad, or if it's something that is going to be critical for long-term success in the ball python breeding hobby. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy the video, and if you do, please don't forget to hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel if you're not doing so already, but let's jump in. Starting off the video, let's just talk about the question, is the desire for the hobby as a whole to go towards a triple recessive, quad recessive, or a penta recessive animal, is that necessary in order to stay relevant in the ball python hobby? And I would say right now in 2023, it kind of is. Not that everybody has all these triple visuals or quad visuals, but it is 100% the way that the breeding part of the hobby is going towards, where everybody's trying to add in another recessive on top of the other ones. I think that, me personally, that there is something that's being lost in this approach. And that is that you can make absolutely stunning, amazing, beautiful combos that have two recessives in them, like, for example, like the Sunset Clown. I think that the Sunset Clown looks absolutely amazing. And as of right now, I could be wrong, I'm pretty sure that the only genes that have been worked into the Sunset Clown project right now are banana, leopard, and spot nose. That's it. Nothing else has been worked into that project. That said, there are so many people who are completely ignoring the Sunset Clown project, and instead they're going for the Sunset Hypo Clown, or the Sunset DG Clown, or the Sunset Clown Pied, or anything like that. And all of those projects are amazing, but I personally feel that one of the best aspects of the ball python breeding hobby is being able to create something that is absolutely brand new, that nobody else has seen before, and it looks amazing. And I think that the fact that there are so many different double recessive projects that haven't even slightly been explored yet, I think that there's a lot of room in the double recessive realm, and that it's not necessary to actually go all the way to the triple or even the quads right now. That said, I'm not encouraging anybody to abandon a triple recessive project or a quad recessive project. In fact, there are triple and quad recessive projects that we are working on, though we are very, very far away from them. And we definitely want to go in that direction. All of that said, though, I do want to highlight something that I personally believe, and that is, if you are going to be investing years of your life, countless hours caring for animals, thousands of dollars in investing into the animals and the equipment required to raise them, I think that it is necessary, or it is a good idea, maybe not necessary, to make sure that the end result is going to have the best potential result, not just simply layering in another recessive gene because it's another recessive gene. And the way that I could say this is, if you had, let's say, a lavender albino, an axanthic, a clown, a pied, and a hypo, you could potentially take maybe 20 years and breed all of those animals together and eventually get a lavender, axanthic, pied, clown, I don't even remember what the other one, hypo, that I said. And that animal probably isn't going to be worth the amount of time that it took to get there. It'd be very, very powerful genetically, but realistically, it's probably going to be some kind of variation of an all-white snake, maybe with a little teeny tiny bit of a pattern. And the reason why is, while all of those genes are recessive and it's technically a penta-recessive animal, I actually think that they are working against each other in a lot of different situations. So, albinism strips out the melanin, and axanthic strips out the yellow pigment. So just those two right there, you are making a snow, which is more or less a all-white animal, it has a little bit of pattern, but then you bring in pied, which is partial leucism. So when you bring in partial leucism, depending on the amount of color that is left in the animal, now you're just getting legitimately patches of it that are just all white. So you have an all-white snake with little teeny tiny patches of color. And then clown, in this specific situation, is doing a little tiny bit to the head stamp, but I don't even know if you'd be able to see it given all of the other interactions. And hypo is reducing the amount of melanin in the animal, but because it's an albino animal and it has no melanin in it to begin with, you might be able to genetically prove that it's hypo through shed testing with RGI, but you probably wouldn't even get any visual impact for it. So even though it would be a penta-recessive animal, those genes together just, in my opinion, don't makes sense. And I apologize if there's anybody who's working on this project, but ultimately I say that just adding in another recessive gene does not necessarily mean that that animal is going to be worthwhile given the amount of time and effort it takes to hit a penta-recessive animal. On the flip side of this, I do think that there are recessive genes that would work really, really, really well together. And I tend to think that they kind of break down into different categories. So I feel like that in general, you can think of like pattern morphs and you can think of color morphs. And usually a pattern morph combined with a color morph does really well. And the example on this is clown. So you could take a clown, which is a pattern morph primarily, and you could take a color morph like xanthic, which strips out the yellow pigment, and you can make an xanthic clown that looks amazing, and you can get the best of both worlds. But I think that if you're going to be working on triple recessive, quad recessive projects, you need to find ways to keep layering that on. So the next category of genes that I think are really, really important are the enhancing genes, which again, a lot of people know about these. So if you are working a triple recessive project, I feel like it's really important to have a strong pattern morph, it's really important to have a strong color morph, and it's really important to have a strong enhancing morph. So if we were going to look at it this way, you could look at the xanthic clown hypo or the true ghost clown. And I think that, I don't know if it's been hit yet already, but that'd be an amazing project and it'd go great because you get the impact of all three. But then if you were to add on top of the true ghost clown DG, I think you are going to make the animal a little bit better, but it's probably not going to be that different between a desert ghost xanthic clown, or maybe, I don't know, because again, I don't know if it's been hit yet, a true ghost clown. So in this situation, because you're adding in 2 recessive enhancing genes, you aren't getting as big of a bang for your buck as you would if you only had 1 enhancing gene, 1 pattern gene, and 1 color gene. So all of this to say, I personally think that most of the multi-recessive projects are going to kind of cap out on the majority of their benefit once you hit the triples. But that said, I do think that there are some specific situations where that's not going to be true. I think that there are some color mutations that look absolutely incredible when you combine it with another color mutation. And the example I can give on this is Sunset and Ultramel. So both animals, Sunset and Ultramel, look amazing on their own, but when you combine them, they look so much better than either one. So even though they're both color mutations, I believe that you could go for something like a Sunset Ultramel Clown Pied, and that would be incredible. Amazing animals. Or potentially like a Sunset Ultramel Hypo Clown, because now you're adding in that enhancing gene to up the oranges even more. So I think that there are situations like this that will make the quad recessives really, really attractive. But ultimately, even saying with all this that there are good directions to go with multi-recessive projects, I think that another challenge that you're going to have once we get really, really deep in the multi-recessives is the markets for those projects get smaller and smaller and smaller. So right now, if you are in the clown project, you pretty much are willing to buy anything that is clown or head clown. But if it gets to the point where you are in the true ghost clown project, now if somebody has a xanthic het DG het clown combo, that would be perfect. It doesn't actually fit your projects anymore, and you're either going to be paying a premium for that het DG, or you are going to be trying to work those genes into your true ghost project because it doesn't quite align. And I think that this fracturing, this smaller and smaller market for each project is going to be another reason why there will be a few projects that get really, really popular, and those projects are the ones that a lot of people go towards, not necessarily just combining a bunch of different recessive genes together. So as a quick recap for this video, I personally think that we're moving a little too quick towards putting in a recessive gene on top of a double recessive combo or on top of a triple recessive combo just to say that we hit a triple recessive or just to say that we hit a quad recessive. I personally think that there's so much to do with the double recessive projects that are already out there, and some of the single gene recessives, there's so many combos that haven't even been hit yet. And focusing on those animals is going to create beautiful offspring that is going to make people really, really excited for those projects. Now, when we are looking at the triple and the quad and the penta recessive projects, I think it's so important to focus on the genes that work well together, and we're not necessarily wasting time and effort putting two genes together that do essentially the same thing. Now, you might make an animal like 5% better than it used to be, but when it really comes to the prices of triple, quad, penta recessive animals, I don't think that increase in price justifies the 5% increase in appearance. So finding the recessive genes that work well together and using those ones rather than just stacking as many recessive genes as possible without really a care to what it would look like in the end. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next week.